Hello, I'm the number playing guy, and wow, we have some fantastic news. Wow. So yes, there was an LR Easy A, and you could have guessed it, and could you? Well, I kind of did, and I got it right. So it's going to be LR Vegito and LR Buhan who have the Easy A's. Unbelievable, unfreaking believable, right? So we're going to have a look at it. So previously, I thought, well, there's going to be an LR Easy A, and there always is, and it's one of those where if it's going to either be Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, the physical one, or it's going to be these. Now, it was an outside chance, and even more of an outside chance that him and Buhon would have his awakening, but here we are. The Easy A's have been out for a couple of days now, so very excited to grind them out. Let's have a look from a normal perspective as to how good they've really become, because that is the most crucial part of why you watch these videos. So let's have a look at the base, and then we'll have a look at the Easy A. So base, okay. So we had 120%. They had damage reduction. They raised attack and defense per super attack, right? And they had the chance of doing additionals. Now, in this particular form, you could say they were more defensive. So let's see what they get now. And it's a whole lot more. So Battle of Wits or Margin Boost Sagas now are flat out 180%, which is really good because you get that extra little bit more over the 170, but also it's two categories. Bear in mind this unit comes out in 2020, so it's a few years old by now, 3.5, probably more like 3 and 3/4 years old. So there's a fair chance that everyone has got them, and they've been in the coin shop for quite a while as well. So there'll be a good chance to snag them up. So what do we get? 2 key 200%. Well, that's not bad because, we're getting the extra 2 key at the start of turn, which massively reduces the stress needed for a super attack. 200%. Now, remember, LRs do not get a stat buff when they have an Easy A, because that would indeed be retarded, and the game would be too hard if they based it around that. But coming in at 55%, they have 9,000 defense. Well, 18,250 attack, by the way, is a lot of attack for an LR at 55%, and that's a ridiculous amount of health. So you might think 2020, oh, say like, 9,000 defense. It's not that great. Well, you say that, and it's going to have LR. There might be better units, sure, defensively start of turn. Bear in mind that the super attack effect still appears to raise defense as well. And you can also have damage reduction with the additionals as well that this guy has. Yes, this guy can be good, and we're almost doubling the start of turn attack and defense here, which is nice, which is pretty good. So while you might find anniversary units stronger, you will indeed find that these indeed will still be able to hold up to themselves, especially when we'll carry on reading as well. Damage reduction of 30%, 2 key per type key sphere obtained. So STR now gives 4, and Infernals will now give 2. Rainbow will give 1 still, so that's fine. But 4 key per SDR is really ridiculous. You get a guaranteed normal 70% chance to super attack. The super attack effect appears to raise to stack defense. I'm sorry, that's now stacks defense and greatly raises attack for the turn. You stack defense. I'm sorry, was that just 30% raise for the turn? It was just 30% raise for the turn. Now they stack defense. Really good. Okay, you have a 30% chance to crit? Well, sure. You have a 50% to stats and a guaranteed additional super attack from when you enter the turn or when your HP is 77% or more. So that would mean then that you're guaranteed. That's kind of weird how they say that. So it's guaranteed because you would transform if you fall below 77%, and this isn't just once only. This is per rotation. You get 1 additional super attack if you are in this form, for which stacks defense, of course, and you get quite a good chunk off attack. You get a chance to perform a crit 20% and reduce damage by an additional 20 if your HP is 50% more or attacking. So you can have 50% damage reduction with a 50% chance to crit. Now, for the most part, yes, if you're under the first 4 turns, so the first or second rotation, or even potentially the second turn, but the first rotation for this guy, then you will actually be able to get that ability, the extra damage reduction. At this point, 50% damage reduction is quite nice. It might be more so if they still get to go first. It might be a very, very good slot 2 and more importantly, slot 3. I'd imagine the idea is you would definitely float them off. You might be able to skip a lot of them. Like if this guy comes in on turn 1, you could float him off, and then he won't come back till Vegitooo, which means half of this is totally irrelevant. Right, but should you keep him on, this is nice because you get the additional guaranteed stack, which works out really well. But again, you'd float him off. So that's one of them. The biggest surprise here is definitely the stacking. So that's fine. Nothing special as well in terms of the effect. So, it is what it is. In terms of who he's going to link up with really well, this guy is the most enticing because he came out a little later. This guy, so this guy's about 5 months younger than the other guy, and he was slightly tempered in his broken ability, only just due to because, as I say, of how busted the next particular phase is. It's no hidden joke about what this guy can do. It's the scouter, right? So this could be the most enticing one because of his future EZA. They will share all links basically, which is absolutely incredible because you get a tremendous amount of attack, but you're also getting quite a lot of key as you're getting Sane Lineage, Prepare for Battle, and Shocking Speed, which also appears to give you a bit of attack and defense as well. So them side by side. At max level, you can get 6 key, 15% attack and defense, which is no joke just from those few links. It looks like the recent anniversary units are kicking in as well. We get Sane Lineage, Prepare for Battle, so you get 10% there and plenty of extraordinary attack whilst also being super STR. The other anniversary unit also works really well. You're not going to get the Sane Lineage, but again, you can still get Prepared for Battle, so that's really nice. Vegitooo, Super Vegitooo, the other Super Vegitooo. This guy, when they transform, they're good, right? When he transforms, Vegitooo is quite a beast. He also has a comparable damage reduction, a comparable actually everything that this guy has, including stats, is basically the same. He will be a slightly more updated version. These two still do have an easier mechanic. This is 77% or under, and this is 50% or under, but you can transform. I can't remember actually if it's just under 50% or from the 6th turn. Honestly, I think it's the 6th turn. So again, they're slightly a newer version. But we're looking at Final Trump on here in particular is going to be really nice because it's huge what they can do. Join forces. Well, there's a recent extreme super battle road, so if you're struggling, these could be a really nice alternate with their damage reduction. Patara gets a fantastic buff, so sure. Margin Boo Saga, of course. Pure Saiyans. Well, yeah, legitimately because these guys. Used to be able to run a team of Pure Saiyans, where you could have him. And him and him and him and him and basically most of the people on this list you'd actually run in the Pure Saiyan team. You'd run Gogeta Vegito, those two, and then their counterpart, the physical one. It's insane when they first came out, a few years ago on the anniversary. Wow. But yeah, so same sort of deal again, but we're talking Battle Wit, Accelerated Battle. Let's see. Basically, these are some of the ones that get the biggest buffs going. But yeah, so let's see what happens now when we transform. It looks as if it's the same, 77% or under from the 4th turn, and we get this guy who still has this. It's nice to see that they haven't tempered this because this was huge. This was the one where it's the first of its kind. And everyone else just couldn't quite. As I say, Tech Gogeta's ability, a similar thing. it was only half the turns because they realized 10 turns is, yeah, you can pretty much complete most difficult content within 10 turns, and being able to see that, yeah. So let's see what he did prior. Looks like we have 50% HP recover, good amount of defense, 30% chance to crit, counters normal attacks. He loses his damage reduction and his additionals, but he did have his crits, right? So he actually lost a lot of his defensive viability, but he was offensively quite crazy. His super attacks also were basically the same. So this is great. Now, what I've noticed is, so now that you stack defense, already this guy could potentially become immortal. Because, like, for example, the blue Vegitooo Blue from the Worldwide Download Celebration unit, they can stack in their 18 key. So when you get to the Vegito's phase, who has also quite a lot of damage reduction, you've been stacking, and he is ridiculous. And now let's see what we got here. So you now fully recover your health. That's nice. Yeah, sure. I can't see no reason why it wasn't in the first place. Guard all attacks for the first 3 turns. So they're really pushing. They're really trying to compensate for this guy's lack of defensive viability. Key 5, 250% to stats. Wow, that's a big jump. What did he have before? He just had 150. Now he gets 2 key 200. Oh, sorry, 5 key 250. 50% chance to crit. Okay. You get an additional chance to crit plus 20%. So that's already 70 within the same turn with each attack performed. Wow. So you have a 50% chance to crit. You do one attack, you've got 70% chance. You get an additional, even if it's a normal, you have a 90% chance to crit. Additional 30% attack after receiving an attack. Okay. Reduce damage by 30% and an additional damage reduction of 30% for normal attacks. Oh, wow. Of course, you counter any normal attacks. Wow, having 60% damage reduction for normals with guard. Actually, that's quite insane. 2 key per key sphere obtained. Great. 77% to stats from first appearance, and still the scouter for 10 turns. So when you transform after you've been stacking a little bit, you get 250%. You get 60% damage reduction, 30 against a super, and then you get this. So what? You're sitting at 327 or 317, something like that. 317% attack and defense for the first 10 turns. This will never ever disappear. 10 turns. You might as well just stack it on this. You might as well. You might as well just give him 317% and then just give him this. Well, what universe? What scenario, really? Are you going to run past 10 turns for that? This is really nice. So they have really compensated the shortfalls of this guy. So they've given him quite a massive change of defensive viability. Guard, for the first 3 turns. So when he appears, keep him on rotation, and you will have 2 turns of that, as well as being able to reduce the normal damage. You have the scouter to be able to compensate, to be able to stick him in slot 1 or not. But the fact that he's got guard with quite a lot more defensive viability, he's got those stats, he's got this amount of stats. It's quite good. You could stick him in slot 1. Greatly raises attack and defense. Greatly raises attack and defense, and seals. He seals. So not only you could go, you're gonna super attack in whatever slot it is, and then you just go before them and you seal them outright. And don't forget, that's not difficult because you're getting 5 key period, as well as 2 key per key sphere obtained, right? I don't see. Here's the thing: the only one downside to this unit Well, I suppose there's two. Okay, one, people are going to say that this is not enough. People are going to say, oh, he's going to have counters. You're going to want to stick him in slot one. You're going to want him to have defensive viability, right? Okay, sure. You gotta. I guess they gotta blend a fine line between being overpowered and being broken. If you give him too much defensive viability with his guard, his increase of stats, the fact that he still reduces damage for a super attack, by the way, like you've been stacking, you still have this, and potentially you can still have this before somebody super attacks you. It's quite something, really. I mean, even if you didn't go first and you didn't greatly raise, you still have guard, you've still been stacking, you still have damage reduction. If anything, you're even stronger than base form. So that's it. It is what it is. You shouldn't really complain too much, but there will be people who say that as a defensive unit, or well, he's not, but he's an offensive unit with a defensive capability. But the second one on this is this. So it's 20% to crit within the same turn with each attack performed, and that resets to 50% every rotation, right? So there's no additionals in this. Like he doesn't do additional normals with a chance of doing a super attack, which means that you'd have to rely on additionals. So an additional normal, yeah, sure, 70%. So even like 70% chance to crit for a normal, incredible, right? If you get a double super, yeah, you're going to be hitting ridiculously hard because of the crits. But again, each attack that you so it's difficult. If this counts the counters, if it includes the counters as an attack, you've got infinite crits. Literally infinite crits. Because if you do one counter, that's 70%. Two counters, 90% to crit. And then it goes on and on and on. And it may theoretically just cap, but you could have infinite crits if it counts the counters, right? If it does that. If it doesn't, it's hard. I don't know if it does, but if it doesn't, and I'm inclined just for now to say it doesn't, that's terrible. This is utter terrible because you're not gonna get that additional, whether it's a normal or not. You're just not going to see its effectiveness because who knows whether you got the 50% chance to flip anyway. Never mind the additional 20. So that's fine. Outside of that, this guy's what this unit can do. Yes, so there's quite a few mammoth people on here. Of course, the best unit is probably this guy. This guy, we'll just quickly have a crack at him because when he comes out again, he fully recovers, has a similar start of turn, also counters normals, also has damage reduction, and also get bonus key, whilst also greatly raising as well. Comparably, so 55%, he's at 13,000. And we go back to this guy and we have 9,000, right? So, start of turn, you'll find that he's actually worse off. 69%, 10,300, 20,000 attack. And this guy at 69% has 14, oh, sorry, yeah, 14,600, 17,000 attack. 18 for 59 for 100. Okay, so offensively, when it becomes like offensively, the hit and miss into they're basically the same, but defensive viability, you want this guy. He doesn't have guard, granted. He doesn't have guard, but he does have a comparable set of skills, right? So that's fine. Similar again, he doesn't have additionals built in because you can get this, and it's very easy to get this, but you can still get this as well, right? So they have a very comparable ability. But then you've also got what is potentially the stronger side of this unit in terms of partners, and that is this guy. As I was saying before, he has ridiculous damage reduction. He can build up quite quick. You can stack in your previous form and your 18 key. And when he comes out, he has like 300% attack and defense. He just goes off and off and off and off. In fact, if we click on this guy, Let's have a quick look. So coming in at 55%, he's actually comparable with the Int Vegitooo, right? Even at 69% is actually comparable, and then offensively is about the same. Again, look, 255 key, 250%. Andy has stronger stats even at 55%. Still has this, still has damage reduction, has additional damage reduction like the base form, right? This guy has additionals built in. This guy has additionals based no matter where you are. And again, his super attack still greatly raises. So it remains to be so. It's a funny one personally between them. Like he has a fantastic partner, but then I'm beginning to actually, as I go through this, begin to realize that perhaps the haters might be onto something. Huh? What a revelation in the middle of a video. No doubt a brilliant unit. As I say, he'd be punching above his weight with the crits, with these. I mean, the scouter, the guard really helps. The stacking really helps. You'd have to play very aggressive in order to get this guy anywhere near as good. But again, we have a look at some of our units, even this guy, and this guy came out a few years ago on the 7th anniversary, right, for his Easy A. Then he is still a fantastic option, by the way. This guy is very comparable and is broken. And even this guy, with his guaranteed dodge, he has a guaranteed additional super attacks and builds up retardedly quick. Yeah, again, this guy, I mean, he can bust out 15 million super attacks. It's ridiculous what this guy can do. And this guy can do 20 million at a time. But okay, revelation not in the middle of the video. I still think he's good. He has a lot of use. He's helped revived a lot of team. Like we're talking Accelerator, Battle, Final Jump, Patara, Fuse Fighters, like all of these. And he still has a very solid place on Joint Forces, Pure Saiyans, Bond of Parent, Kamehameha. So there's still huge potential in this guy. But let's test him out, because his base form arguably may just be better because they stack. But again, let's see. Because again, with all this extra kit that he's got alongside this scouter, he might just be able, with this alone, be the king. But we'll see. Anyway, this is huge news, no doubt. By the way, him and Buhon, or Boo, the one with Boo Tanks, they both have their independent Easy A's, so it's actually 60 stones up for grabs, yo. So yeah, get them done, and yeah, sure, have fun. Anyway, next video is going to be Boo Tanks Buhon. I don't know. Anyway, let me know what you think of this guy. I still think he's good. Now that I'm thinking about it, there are possibly older and newer variants of this unit that are better. But as I say, let's see. Let's test him out, give him an honest opinion. I still think he's good. But as I say, everyone's got their own preference for this guy. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I've been a normal player guy, and you've been a lovely, lovely audience. I'll see you next time. Thank you, and bye-bye.